good afternoon. It's DayLife Mary. I'm coming to you live for part 3 of the Dumb and Dumber series, and I was trying to figure out why I did not want to tell this part of the story. There's a lot of reasons, but one of them is because I don't like talking about these idiots. I don't like to. And centering my own part of the story is something that I think will make it easier or more enjoyable to do. And this is not that far away in my past too, so it's a more, I don't know, it's a more difficult part to tell. So I'm gonna try this again. As usual, make a wash of belief, multiples of 12, to cash.me/$washitall or paypal.me/washitall. You can DM me for crypto links, how to social wash, any other questions you might have about your wash, though really the only thing to do is the action of doing it. It's not something you're going to understand intellectually, it's something you're going to feel through the action of doing it. So don't be a pussy and see what's on the other side. So that's why it's washing your belief, by the way, one of the reasons that term exists. Anyways, the last time I ended off things, I was talking about summer of 2020, Boom's on PainMatrux, teasering about the big article, his debut, his star debut, right in time for his SoundCloud album to drop by, I'm sure. And Jesus, by the way, is the one who organized this article happening forever ago, and when they realized that they're not going to get a PainMatrux product if they work through any of the people in DayLife Army, they're not going to get what they want for doing something with us. And it became clear through Jesus talking to them and then dragging them on social media, being this is how a professional journalist emails people? Question mark. This is how they gather their facts? Question mark again. They started to learn pretty fast to steer clear, and it took forever. They did not know how to package DayLife Army, and as soon as, Boom and Tinkerbell are kicked out, and Boom goes and gets picked up by his new handler, who's literally a PainMatrux puppet psychologist, he's a certain type of brainwasher that's very effective. Then they're okay, we have an angle here, and it's the classic PainMatrux angle. You have to find some victim narrative, and it has to be sensational, because it has the word cult in it, of course. So the article did drop, and it was like that. Let me pause this real quick. Sorry, towel refreshment. So the article dropped, and we knew it was coming, and it was what we expected. It was this dramatic soap opera, full of things news to us, basically, news to me, of what we apparently were and who we were and what we did. And it was my first, I had stuff happen to me with MTV or people I knew getting press or whatever, and seeing how that worked. But I had, at this point now, first-hand experience of living a lived reality and then seeing how that reality was warped or a fantasy created instead, that because people are so brainwashed by media and PR for the PainMatrux, you see something that's written and released by mainstream publications, and you literally believe it. It was wild, because I started to gaslight myself even, and I won't go into that right now, but anyways, this article was released, it's important to note, at this very particular time in history and part of the summer where there was actually nothing going on. It was the only lull probably that's existed in years, the lull in everything big or any kind of story happening. And that was when they decided to drop it, a perfect time for it to really be like the top internet news story in circulation for a couple days. And it had a ton of other press pick it up and repackage it, other articles, coming out in tandem from that one article dropping. It was in the Daily Mail. Everyone was talking about it on Twitter, all this stuff. And my family and friends, some of my friends, family, etc., were like, even though I called them and I was like, this crazy article is about to drop, just to give you some warning. As soon as it did drop, they were like, oh, you're being human trafficked, or you're like hanging out with sex traffickers, like, let's try and get you out. Oh no. And I did not even respond to them to try and prove anything, because honestly, fuck that. And fuck that even now, years later. Because it is so ridiculous. But I was feeling really, 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 really angry, because I'm someone who's controlling. I care about my image. All these things that God was like, oh really? Let me like throw you into this type of scenario to like work out those issues real quick. And I had to like stop myself from trying to like go and be like, this point, that point. This is why it's crazy that these accusations are happening, and this is what's false about it, and this person is actually saying this, but when they were here, this is what was happening. And I had to be like, okay, Emily, scale it back. And of course, like, having help in the process of being like, you can't live that way. You can't cancel. That's like allowing yourself to be canceled, basically. And you have to just have fun with it and not give a shit. And like agree and amplify in your response. Like, don't do that route is the route that the PainMatrux wants you to have, that media wants you to have, and it's what it's trying to get you to do. It's trying to drive you crazy and make you feel a certain type of way. And it worked on some people. It works on most people. If DayLife Army didn't, if this was not a social military, versed in social warfare, versed in PR, versed in the PainMatrix's tools, we wouldn't have gotten paid off of this the way that we did. And we would have been able to be canceled. So that's what was happening in the summer. And I was almost going to go back in time to when Dumb and Dumber were, before they were kicked out of the army, and what they were given first, and then what happened when the bill came due, which was to do their job. Like, but I don't even think I'm going to go into that, because again, that's not part of my story, and I can feel my like energy start to lower as soon as I talk about their parts of this story and not mine. So I'm just going to continue on into pause a second again. Maybe make a wash of 24K real quick, and you can see me from a beautiful studio apartment. So where was I? So that was the end of the summer, and I was having a good time. I was liking the attention a lot. I was putting out my own content at the time, and doing the, while the Whore of Babylon, aka, PR that works for the beast, rides the beast system, sells the beast system, etc., makes everyone entrapped into that reality. While that was going on full force, I was doing my own like Whore of Babylon posting and storyline, getting rid of a lot of shame that I had, sending my family like all sorts of emails, basically saying every single thing that came to mind or had been on my mind. All the things you like don't say to your family that you think about your family, whether that's like fantasies or like reality, or things that they don't want to face themselves, or things that the family just doesn't talk about that one thing with that person or this person. I was doing my own PR campaigns at the same time. I'll just leave it at that. And around this time, Boom and Tinkerbell, I believe both try, but only Boom succeeds in reaching out to my family personally to basically do his part in trying to make sure that they all know that DayLife Army is evil and sex traffickers and human traffickers, and like trying to get them to like make me come home or save me or whatever. And my family are wasps. They believe anything that's written in a newspaper or on the news. And so it's insulting, but hey, after like a year of talking to me and like having one reality, but still like they had the word cult in their head, so they're ready to freak out about something, they take some random young man's phone call and this article, and they're like, okay, this is the reality now. Yes, master, whatever you say. Like, they're gonna take that frame. He reached out to like my aunt, my mother, other people I believe, perhaps my uncle, but I don't think they actually spoke to anyone else. And I figured out what they were saying to both my mom and my aunt. I called them and asked later. And my aunt was like, yeah, he was like really trying to make it about taking down DayLife Army. And I was just like, well, I'm worried about my niece. I just want what's best for her. And he was very much, what he was doing was like using people because that's all he knows how to do. And I think that even though they really wanted this to be evil and something sensational to be happening, they also still managed to pick up on this, like, this guy is playing some kind of thing I'm not interested in. I'm like caring about my family member whom I want to see or whatever. So that was basically all happening while the PainMatrux account and full-fledged like takedown attempts were still happening. And when I say like, I had never really talked to Boone before. He called me M to my family, and they were like, that's weird, like acting real familiar. But he was so like, he knew me. He was so familiarized and like familiar with me when he was trying to talk to me every day in my DMs, trying to call me, sending me millions of voice memos. It was pretty gross, and it was like, kind of like, how dare you? You're like trying to be nice in my DMs and then like slandering me for like armies of cancel trolls that are like ready to hop on something to hate, because people love to hate. And like all this is happening from a guy who came somewhere, got free rent, got free like daily undivided attention and therapy, and then when that was up and it was time for him to do his job, like, you know, the bill came due, like, you're gonna buy back your soul, that's how you're gonna wash, you're gonna be here and you're gonna do washing. That's when he was like, oh, actually, these are abusive people. And you can read the article, you know, forced to sit in a chair with no back and write Facebook posts all day. You know, it was abusive. It was downright abusive. But anyways, that person was like telling me, trying to like gaslight me into thinking that something was something else, when I was like, you're the one who's gaslit. And it makes sense now with who he was, you know, training under and why he was doing what he was doing. So getting called a victim over and over like that is really enraging. It made me really angry when I was not a victim, yet like that role was being pushed onto me, and he had this PR campaign, and the whole thing he was a part of was trying to make me a victim. And I get it. A white woman is really, really set up in the PainMatrux program to slot into the victimhood role, and we use it. And if I ever left here, I would totally use it because I'd be in the PainMatrux. And it's like the fucking Matrix movie. You just like have a thing take hold of you, and you're like, if I'm in this Matrix now, I need to play my role and be doing the thing that, you know, keeps Satan fed and keeps that reality intact. To go against that reality while in that reality, no one has the fucking stones to do it. There is no surprise whatsoever that anyone who leaves the plain matrix or the pleasure matrix or the in-between zones of something outside of the pain matrix, if they return to it, there's nothing you can do but to hawk that program. You cannot, it's just how it works. But anyways, Boom and Dumb and Dumber really tried, Boom and Tinkerbell, I don't care what, you know, they tried everything. They were really, really, really dead set on getting, at the time, the three soldiers, Jesus, me, and Jude, the great betrayer, to leave. And Jude, it was not hard. He was a kind of a pussy and not really able to handle the media thinking something bad, and like he had a lot of shame. And by early fall, basically, that whole media shitstorm and all of the ensuing craziness and attention that we're getting from different hordes of people, etc., is starting to die down. I'm still pretty upset with my family for turning so easily and so fast, but I'm honestly not surprised. And the last like remnant kind of, at least that I thought of at the time of that time period, happened when Jesus and I went to a place we stayed at for a month, I believe it was a month. And I'm gonna end the story here, I think, and I'm gonna say again that the way this story ends, there's a flip, there's a reveal, there's a twist. There's quite an interesting twist that gives a different flavor to all of these things that are happening and why they're happening and the motives of these people doing this. But of course, like any good story, I will wait till the end to reveal that, even though I want to right away and I always want to end the story. I want to get it over with. But make a wash of belief. I'm trying, my wash goal right now is 720, and I recommend 24% of whatever you are currently holding. And I think that's it for now. I don't know. As you can tell, I'm like, things that are not so far in my past in terms of my story, it is more uncomfortable to tell. So all the more reason to make a wash. And yeah, I'll be back with the final part to this story soon. And goodbye.